the next topic
Mm.
is the Walt Disney Company is shaking things up a little bit with the public
Mm-hmm.
relations, because I'm really shocked by this, Dre, because the PR stuff has been fantastic lately.
Yeah.
What's going on? No, I'm kidding.
Yeah, exactly. Oh man, they've been buttoned up, and oh man, that image is awesome right now.
Yeah,
Not really.
no, it's been terrible, and
Mm-hmm.
they announced a new global communications director,
Yeah.
and her name is Kristina. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing her last name correct or not, but I believe it's Schake, Kristina Schake.
Yes.
Now, if you can kind of elaborate a little bit on her, and I
Yeah.
think you have a screen, right? You want to share too as well in
I.
regards to this, or
It's in regards to this. We'll hold off on it though. Hold off on
okay,
it just for a second. The thing with Shockey is she's most noteworthy in the political world than she is in the entertainment world. And politically speaking, she is, she's quite the figure. Apparently, she was on the Obama administration and kind of the later years there, and also the kind of campaign advisor or lead counsel for the Hillary Clinton campaign back in 2016. Well, we all know how that went. It's quite an interesting person to get. But I think the larger story about her history is how she was instrumental in getting Proposition 8 kind of passed, and really kind of changing the narrative surrounding the LGBTQ plus community around kind of these gay and lesbian rights, and how that was perceived onto the public. And she was kind of instrumental in making that more of like, hey, you know what, this should be accepted. This shouldn't be outlawed, and here's why. And kind of making it kind of a human rights issue and all of that kind of thing. She was kind of instrumental in kind of laying those foundations for what actually ended up happening in the Supreme Court. So it is kind of fascinating how they would get somebody like this, and obviously that speaks to the notion of some of the criticism as laid on the doors of Disney, right?
yeah.
By both factions. And it's going to be interesting to kind of see what she does and kind of reform the image of Disney right now, because right now it is badly tarnished, and that's kind of the slides I'll get into. But what say you, OG? How do you think of those?
Well, yeah, I mean, this choice was not an accident. They definitely picked her, I think, for a few reasons. Number one, I think, like, look, they're trying to kind of dig their way out of this whole issue with the Florida bill. And, Bob Chapek already has a couple of people, I believe, on his team in regards to public relations that are like former Bush administration officials. I think Disney wanted to sort of bring someone on who was a lot more progressive, more left-leaning, to sort of cool, kind of ease the tension in the industry, so to speak, and with the community, the LGBTQT plus community. So they bring in Kristina Schake, who, she's, like you said, worked for Obama, worked for Hillary. She was an advocate for gay rights, things like that. So I think that's definitely something at play here when they chose her, right? Like, you don't want to choose like a conservative that might put more fuel on the fire for a lot of these groups. So they chose someone like Schake. Also, it's interesting because Hillary Clinton is very much a Chapek kind of figure. And I might get some heat for this, but look, this is just like kind of like an objective observation that I'm making here.
Sure.
Hillary Clinton is not a Bernie Sanders. Bernie Sanders is a very principled guy, whether you agree or disagree. Bernie believes what Bernie believes. Whether you want to come on board and join the Bernie train, great. If you don't, fine. But Bernie's ideology and his mindset has not changed in God knows how long. Okay, this guy has had the same message for a long, long time. He sticks to it. Hillary Clinton is not that politician. Hillary Clinton is very much wherever the winds kind of blow, that's where she's going to go so she can get the votes. Yeah. Chapek is kind of that same kind of person in the corporate level, a data-driven guy. Wherever the consumer wants him to go, which in Hillary's case would be the voters, but wherever the consumer wants him to go, he'll go. So if everyone wants this, he'll go there. If everyone wants that, he'll go there, right? Data-driven. He's a data-driven CEO. Hillary was a data-driven politician. So it kind of makes sense to get Kristina Schake in that regard because she's managed someone similar, in my opinion, to Bob Chapek with Hillary Clinton. And Hillary Clinton was also, just like Bob Chapek, a very controversial figure, and stuff like that. And it was very polarizing. Other people love her. She has fans very passionate fandom, but then she also has people that really despise her,
Greatly.
So Kristina has the experience with that, right? Sort of. So I can see why they chose her. It's just, I don't know. It's just Hillary Clinton's campaign wasn't exactly successful in 2016. So it's like that kind of speaks to, Ms. Saki's effectiveness. I don't know, but
yeah. And the thing about Schake was that was quite interesting was, and I think this is kind of why they might have chosen her, right? Because my feeling was, well, there's really two ways you can go forward here. You can either pivot away from the kind of messaging that you put out here in relation to the bill and these kind of social issues and so forth, or you can try to get people to kind of understand your side and kind of change public sympathy that way. That is a very uphill battle. But I mean, look, Schake has experience with this, obviously, with the gay rights kind of issues. Previously, that was a very partisan issue, and one of her specialties was making it nonpartisan and really making it about human rights values and so forth, and was instrumental in like I said, getting that Supreme Court decision made because of that kind of reshifting of the narrative. But when it comes to Disney itself, that's going to be a tough proposition. Speaking on the issue of data, well, there was a new poll that was done. I kind of like to see the polls, kind of like to see what they say. What's the public sentiment like? This is why we want to go ahead and show these screens here. So this is a poll by Trafalgar, pretty reputable group. Who has gotten a lot of the previous political races pretty much correct. And they asked this question. News reports reveal Disney is focusing on creating content to expose young children to sexual ideas. Does this make you more or less likely to do business with Disney? And the reason they asked this is because of a lot of the, videos that have kind of gone viral from this Reimagine Tomorrow, these kind of Reimagine Tomorrow sessions that they've had. And it's kind of one step up from that started with HB 1557 to now, right? And it really is like, are you going to continue to do business with Disney or are you not? Like, is this a game changer for you, essentially, right? And this is what Schake is going to, this is what she's kind of up against here because, well, if you see right here, if you combine less likely and much less likely, we're talking about 68%, almost 70% of people are, and much less likely is the overwhelming majority on this, less likely to do business with Disney going forward. This is potentially devastating to Disney, depending on how this all kind of plays out. Right. Whether it's going to be, hey, we don't, look, if it's one of those, well, we were going to go to 6 Disney movies a year. Now we're going to go to 5. Okay, well, that's not going to be huge, right? But what if you have a lot of cancellations in Disney Plus subscriptions, especially when we know that those Disney Plus subscriptions is instrumental in propping up the stock price as it currently exists? What happens there? And to more illustrate this point right here, you would think that they would have a bunch of conservatives in this poll, right, being a disproportionate influence to this poll. And yes, on the one hand, you have 85% of conservatives in this poll saying less likely, right? But this actually is interesting because it's actually somewhat bipartisan. In fact, almost 50% of Democrats, of left-leaning individuals, agree with this sentiment that they're less likely to do business with the mouse. And it goes on. No party affiliation, 72%.
Interesting.
It's how likely are you to support family-friendly alternatives to Disney. 69% likely that they are going to go with, hey, maybe with your family vacations, maybe you go to Universal instead of Disney, or maybe you go to a Warner Brothers film instead of a Disney film, that kind of thing, right? And you have age participation, and it breaks down thusly, right? You know, you have significant margins of kind of each represented in this poll. But I want to get to the other parts of this. Yeah, the crosstabs here. You have that, but then it also, like age group, for example. Look at that. Less likely, much less likely, more likely, somewhat more likely. Less likely to do business with Disney. I mean, it's all across age groups. You know, you would think that, it's the old fuddy-duddies that have problems with this. No, young people do. 18 to 24 year olds. I mean, we're talking over 50% right there.
Yeah.
60% if you look at those numbers.
It's wild.
You're talking, hey, maybe ethnicities. Look at this. We know that there's a big Hispanic population, both in Florida and in Southern California especially, who frequent the parks, right? Look at the less likely and much less likely in the Hispanic groups there.
Wow.
You're talking 70%. This is going to be, this is kind of the stuff that they brought in Shockey for.
Right. And this is honestly, and whether you supported the bill, don't support the bill or whatever, but this is exactly why Chapek didn't want to touch it.
Yes.
And look, you don't have to agree with Chapek. You can despise the bill, and that's fine. But I think that we can all understand at least why he didn't want to get involved. This is why.
Yes.
Because once you dive into this world, it becomes politically we're so divided in this country.
Yeah.
And you start to go down this road, and you're going to start dividing your consumers.
Yes.
And this is why Chapek, being a data guy who really, honestly, I don't think Chapek cares about politics at all. No. I really don't. He's all about the data. He's all about the money. He's all about consumers. He doesn't care about it. And he saw the writing on the wall with this, that this is going to piss people off on one side, make the other side happy. But you're always, it's the trap. You fall on one side of the trap or the other once you say something. So it's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. You're right. This is a huge uphill battle for Psaki. It's going to be very, very interesting to see how she navigates these waters. They're in a precarious position now,
They are. And we're already starting to see the effects of that poll right there. Because we've had Alia on in the past, amazing contributor to the channel, right? And she gets, much of her insight, much of her input from, somebody named Matt Bellany. He's been an insider for years, runs a blog. He's the guy that knows a lot of the kind of political and social undercurrents when it involves these kind of entertainment juggernauts, right? And he was on a podcast recently, and he was saying that he got a call from a kind of a travel agency that kind of, it's like almost like a Getaway Today kind of outlet. It's not the biggest company in the world. It's smaller. But, they have a lot of clients that, set up their vacation packages to Disney and so forth. Apparently, he got a call from one of those people and said, why are all these people canceling their vacations to Walt Disney World and Disneyland?
Wow.
It's already started, folks. It's already started to affect the company. Now, as far as how much, we really don't know. But these things, when you take these stances and when you have things that might be divisive to many Americans, these are some of the consequences from those actions. In fact, I was going to touch on this before, but Kareem Daniels, one of the reasons why he was put in that kind of role where he kind of controlled where things go, right? He kind of controls where things are going to live in this kind of distribution network that the Disney company has assembled for itself. One of the reasons was to kind of filter through the content as it was coming in and coming out, and ensure that these kind of socially divisive or socially kind of maybe politically charged issues might not be so embedded in their films and content going forward. It was one of the reasons why he was placed there. So now all that's being undone from this kind of this horrific news cycle that's kind of plagued the company. And now we're seeing people calling, the Disney company the G word. I won't repeat it just because of the YouTube censors on here, but they're being affiliated with a lot of bad stuff right now. And again, this new this new kind of PR maven that they've hired, she's got to work cut out for her.
Yeah, no, I know. They call it the G word, and then if they backtrack, then the other side calls them bigots or something else. And this is just a never-ending fight. And it's like, I love the Walt Disney Company. I just want them to make really good content, make really cool stuff at the parks, and I'm just kind of exhausted by all of this noise. I really am. It gets so much, and really it's crazy. It's crazy. And a lot of these other studios, we've talked about many times on the show, that they kind of don't have to deal with this. Universal or Paramount or even like WB, Warner Brother, like they don't have to deal with any of this. They can be quiet and it's all good. And Disney, they're just a cultural juggernaut. And it just they get under this microscope like no other, and it's tough waters to navigate. And I don't envy Ms. Schake at all. No. I do think it was the right decision though overall for Chapek to sort of like reboot his communications team with her.
Oh yeah, so anybody. Absolutely.
Yeah, he needed a change definitely after the Florida bill, but we'll see. She's dealt with a lot. This woman has dealt with a lot of PR messes. I mean, come on, she worked for Hillary Clinton, so let's just put it,
Yeah,
so she has experience, right? She's had experience.